What's up, guys? Nate Dog FPV here. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Emax Baby Hawk R Pro. So as you guys know, I've got the 3-inch Baby Hawk. I've got the 2-inch Baby Hawk that has the 2.5-inch arm upgrade on it. And now we've got the new Baby Hawk R Pro. So this is a 2.5-inch Baby Hawk. Emax's newest version or newest model with the Baby Hawk R. So far, guys, I'm pretty stoked on this thing. It looks like they've upgraded the components and the parts in it to make it better. Also, they've got this one rated 2 to 3S, which is nice to see. With the 3-inch Baby Hawk, a lot of the ratings said 3 to 4S, and you know, I've tried running 4S on this thing. It really just does not work well. The motors get super hot. So, you know, I really feel like they would have been better off just leaving the 3-inch version rated 2 to 3S as well, because I really don't think it's, you know, just not designed to handle 4S. So I'm glad they stuck with 2 to 3S on this new 2.5-inch version. So that the canopy's different. They've got some new props designed specifically for this one. So I think there's several differences, like I said, with the electronics and everything as well. So guys, we're going to get this thing cracked open and we'll take a look at it and see what comes with it. We'll probably do a little bit of a setup video. I'm hoping this one doesn't require as much setup as the original Baby Hawk R's did. I know you guys have probably seen my videos on those, but we had to mess with a capacitor and add some stuff up under it to keep it from shorting. I mean, there was a lot of modifications that had to be done out of the box on the original Baby Hawk R. So I'm hoping this new model, they've kind of taken everything that people had to do to it, and hopefully they've done that already. So it'll be a lot easier to set up. So yeah, guys, we're going to throw it on the bench and check it out. We'll go out and fly this thing at some point. We'll throw up some footage of that too. So yeah, hope you guys enjoy the video, and we'll throw it on the bench and take a look. Go. We're gonna get this Baby Hawk R cracked open. Excuse me, Baby Hawk R Pro cracked open, and let's see what this thing's all about. So I'm gonna use my scissors here. Just make a little cut across the top, or maybe not. Alright, there we go. Got the plastic off. We'll set our scissors up to the side. Alright, we're going to get this box opened. Boom! Baby Hawk R Pro. Alright guys, so we've got a little screw bag here. So obviously this is going to have some extra screws for the stack. We've got our screws for our props. Looks like this is the OSD controller for the Caddx camera. So that looks a little bit different. Kind of has a different little joystick than the Fox ears do. So I haven't actually used the Caddx camera yet, guys. So this should be interesting. We'll check it out. Okay. So we've got our Avan Rush props here. So take a look at these. So yeah, those feel pretty durable. Definitely an interesting angle on these guys. Just the way they're shaped kind of reminds me of like Batman or something. But definitely like a big kind of a hooked angle on those. So far I've heard good things about them though, that they're really good. So looking forward to trying those out. So they're giving you, looks like 2 full sets of the Avan Rush props. Yep, 2 sets of those. And here is the Baby Hawk R Pro. Alright, so we'll set it down for a second. Let's see what else is in the box. So you just get your foam. We've got a little book for the Caddx camera. And we've got a little book for the Baby Hawk R Pro. User manual version 1. So it kind of tells you the parts. Blah, 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 blah. Tells you how the receiver works. Got some information on the VTX frequencies and all that. Which we'll probably have to look at that, because I think this VTX is going to come in a locked form, which we're probably going to have to unlock it. Let's see. Yeah, so it says right here, guys, in really, really small print, that this VTX does come in a locked mode. So to be able to get to 200 milliwatts or get to certain frequencies and everything, you're going to have to unlock this thing. And you're supposed to have a ham radio license to be able to do that. So yeah, it's got a unlicensed chart for unlicensed ham users, only 25 milliwatts. Only certain channels. Then if you go to a unlocked, someone that does have a ham license, and you get more channels that you can use, and you can get 25 or 200 milliwatts. So that's something you may have to address initially, which I'll show you guys how to do that. I'm probably gonna have to look up honestly how to do it to get it in unlocked mode, but I'll demonstrate that for you guys. Alright, so first things first, the canopy is definitely different. Just a different overall look to it. This one's actually red. Still looks pretty cool. Okay, that's kind of different. So it only has a single screw back here. So the other one, let's see here, let me grab it. So the original Baby Hawk R, you had 2 screws in the back, right? So this one only has 1 back here. Still looks like the camera mounts are very similar, so you just got 2 screws in the side for the camera. This one has a Caddx camera opposed to a Fox ear that came in the original Baby Hawk R. So yeah, this is a Emax branded Caddx camera. Definitely has a bigger lens. If you look at the lens comparison, here's the original one with a Fox ear camera. Here's the Caddx camera. So yeah, that lens is significantly bigger. So that should be good. So still kind of the same thing. They have the VTX antenna just hanging out the back here. Again, I do not like that. I don't like anything just hanging out. So you can see, like on my other Baby Hawk here, I've actually moved it down and zip tied it to the arm. So I'll be doing that same thing on this one. Looks like they do have some tape on here to hold down the motor wires. But again, it's just one little piece of tape, so there's still quite a bit of exposed motor wire. Which again, that was something I did not like about the original ones also. So I'm probably going to take off their tape and add some of my own just using electrical tape. And we'll tape that like all the way up to make sure it's covered well. Okay, so another big difference here. So it looks like these are actually naked bottom motors now. So on the original Baby Hawk R, you know, you had full bottoms on these. Looks like they have actually switched that to a naked bottom on this newer version. So that's the RS1106 4000 kV. But yeah, the naked bottom version. So those look cool. Okay, so another big thing I noticed right off the bat is you don't have a capacitor hanging off the side, which is good. There it is. Okay, so yeah, they changed a bit. So they actually have the capacitor now is soldered right onto the XT30 connector. So they literally just have the leads like right here, soldered in there, and they still have the wire hanging off the side. So there is still a capacitor. It actually looks like a smaller capacitor than the original Baby Hawk R. Yeah, and it still comes out the side. And again, guys, I really don't like the side, so I'm going to do the same thing I did on my other one. Which will probably be something like this. We're going to flip it back and we're going to hook it on the arm like that. Be something like that. Probably will be the easiest way to do it. And again, that just helps keep it out of the way and keeps it secure, so we don't have to worry about it pulling off pads or anything like that. Okay, so another thing sticking out the side here, guys, is the receiver antenna. So yeah, if you get the Bind and Fly version, it comes with a FrSky D8 receiver. Just a single antenna on that, which is fine. I've got that same one, you know, on the original Baby Hawk R, and it works fine. Of course, I don't like it hanging out the side, so I'm definitely going to be tucking that up inside the frame somewhere. So let's see what else we got. So I guess let's grab a screwdriver, guys, and we'll take the canopy off, and we'll get a little better look inside this thing. Alright guys, so I assume we're still using 1.5mm hex driver on this. That does appear to be correct. So we're going to take off the camera screws. Okay. And again, we've only got one screw back here to take off to get the canopy off. Alright, so that screw is out. Assuming it just lifts up like the other one. Yep, just lifts straight up. Again, we're going to take our VTX antenna back through there. Alright. So yeah, guys, so you've got a little bit different here. There's like still part of the canopy right here that stays attached, and that's what the camera is actually mounting to. So that's good. So the guy, this one has an F4 flight controller, guys. The ESE is actually a 20 amp ESE this time, as where the original had a 12 amp ESE. This one actually has a 20 amp ESE. Looks like they're still using the same crappy battery strap. So yeah, I've had, you know, my original one broke. I've had a lot of people say they break. So I actually upgraded mine with one from Race Day Quads. That's just a better strap. This is actually the original one I bought for this one, and it's never broken. So I'll be replacing their stock battery strap with one the straps from Race Day Quads. And there's something awesome to see, guys. So hope you guys can see this right up under here. You can see there's probably at least like 3 to 4 millimeters of clearance between the frame the bottom plate and the actual bottom of the 4-in-1 ESC. So that is awesome, guys. Plenty of clearance there. We should not have to worry about shorts at all. That was one of the biggest problems with the original Baby Hawk R, is they had the 4-in-1 ESC so close to the frame that a lot of people, you know, would just take off flying it and it would short out on them and catch on fire. Some of them even on the first flight even, which is obviously pretty bad, guys. You hate to buy a quad and, you know, the first time you go out and fly it, it burns up on you. And really, you know, on the original one, that was just a bad design flaw from Emax. You know, they shouldn't have had it that close to the frame. You know, they tried to remedy that with some of the later versions by like putting a little spacer under there and stuff like that. You know, guys, if you haven't seen my earlier Baby Hawk videos, I actually put like little nuts under mine to lift it up more to make mine work better. You know, some people 3D printed stuff to put under it, but you know, you shouldn't buy a ready to fly quad and then the first thing you have to do is take the stack apart and put something up under the 4-in-1 ESC board. You know, that should not be a thing. So definitely glad to see that Emax has addressed that with this new Baby Hawk R Pro, and we can see there's plenty of clearance there, so we should not have to worry about shorts at all. Looks like this one does still have a buzzer, so that's cool. Buzzer's right here on the top, kind of similar to the other one. We've got our VTX and we've got our receiver. It looks like they've done a actual better push button, like a white push button on this VTX, opposed to the original one, which just has like a little side button. It's really small. It's kind of hard to get to. You know, I know a ton of people that ended up breaking off the VTX button on the original Baby Hawk R just because it's so small and it's so hard to get to from the side, and yeah, just kind of a pain in the butt. So it looks like they have remedied that as well by giving you a VTX that actually has a big white push button. Should be really hard to break that button, so that's good. Still kind of have the same mounting for the receiver, just mounts right up on the top. Just has a single bind button there, which should be fine for a receiver. Something else kind of cool, guys, this flight controller also has 2 programmable LEDs. So if you look right here on the back, there actually are 2 little LEDs right here. According to the book and everything, those are supposed to be programmable, so we can program those LEDs to be whatever color we want in Betaflight, and I can show you guys how to do that. Again, we've got our buzzer, 4-in-1 ESC down there. So it looks like this one, instead of it having pins that connect the flight controller and the ESC, looks like this one actually has like a cable that plugs in on the side. Which is probably a good thing. You know, sometimes when you connect those together with like the straight pins that go down, they can be problematic or can short or something like that and just not have a good connection. So good to see that they changed that. Also, guys, we've got a MMCX connector on our VTX antenna now, opposed to the original one that had a UFL connector. So I'm glad to see that, guys. The MMCX connector is much better in my opinion. I've used those on pretty much all my quads now. Again, really prefer those. So probably what I'll do, guys, is bring this VTX antenna down to this arm, something like that. That should be fine. May have to bend the wire or bend the antenna a little bit more, but we'll stick it over there somewhere like that. So yeah, all in all, guys, everything looks pretty cool so far. It's looking good. So right out of the gate, the only thing I see that I have to do is put better tape over the motor wires, just tuck in the receiver antenna, mount the VTX antenna to an arm, mount the XT60 and capacitor, or excuse me, XT30 and capacitor to an arm, and that should be about it for modifications. So that's pretty good in comparison to what, you know, we had to do on the Baby Hawk R initially as far as modifications go. And we've got a pretty big little gel pad down here, guys. Actually looks like a good gel pad. That's pretty thick. And obviously it has to be there because the way those screws are sticking down, so that kind of gives you room for your battery to mount on the bottom. I might leave that on, guys, or I might replace that with dual lock. I have dual lock on my batteries, and I use dual lock on most of my stuff. So like on this one, for example, you know, I pulled off the pad they had down there and just replaced it with a piece of dual lock. So I might do that on this one, I might not. Like I said, I may give this pad a shot just to see how it works. You know, since it's specifically cut and formatted for this this frame and everything. Something kind of interesting too, guys, these motors only have 3 screws in them. So is that by... Yeah, it looks like that's by design. I'm not sure. Yeah, I can't really tell if the motor has the 4 screw hole or not, but definitely the frame does not. So they only have 3 screws in there, and the 4th hole is not even cut. So I'm not sure if the motors have the 4th hole or not, but that's something kind of interesting they've done too. Which I guess, you know, 3 motors should be fine. Saving a little bit of weight that way, so that's good. Hopefully that will strengthen up the arms a little bit more too by not having another hole in there. So, but yeah, looks cool, guys. So I'm excited to get this thing set up, get out and fly it. So guys, I'm going to grab modification stuff. We'll get that knocked out and we'll move on. All right, here we go. All right, guys. So here we go with the modifications. So the first thing I'm going to do is add another piece of heat shrink onto that VTX antenna. They leave this little part exposed, and I don't really like doing that because again, I don't want it to get bent or broken or anything. So I've got just a regular piece of black heat shrink here. So I'm going to cut that down to size, and we're going to get that heat shrinked on. So I'm just going to measure it off the one that's there, make sure it's got enough to cover the end. So we can cut it probably about right there, a little bit shorter than that. Alright. So we've got that cut to length. Make sure it's going to cover the whole thing. Yep, and that looks good. So we're going to zip over to my heat gun real quick, guys. Alright, guys, so we got the heat shrink done there. So there you guys go, so you can see what it looks like. So I just have the end of that covered up now. Just give that a second to harden up, and that should be good and protected. Alright, so that looks good, guys. Next thing we're going to do is add some more tape onto the arms here. Cover up those motor wires a little better. So I'm going to be using just standard electrical tape to do that, guys. I guess I'm going to leave their tape on for right now. It looks like they've got some decent tape on there, just covering up that one little spot. So I don't really think I need to remove their tape necessarily. We're just going to add some more to give it a little extra protection. Again, the main reason I do this, guys, I don't want the motor wires getting pulled off. You know a lot of people that have had that issue where they've gotten a crash or something and the motor wires have gotten ripped, pulled out of the motor. So obviously, like if you hit a tree branch or get caught on a tree branch or something like that, I mean, it's pretty easy for these little wires to get torn out. So easy little fix here though, guys. Yeah, just add a little bit of tape over it and you shouldn't have to worry about it. Okay, so tape is on. So now we're going to move on to the next mods and we'll get those knocked out. Alright guys, so now we got to get this VTX antenna mounted somewhere. Trying to figure out the best place to put it. It seems like it's kind of long, really, in comparison to how long the other one was. So something like... like that should be good. And I don't want it sticking up too high because obviously, you know, if a prop gets bent and you've got the antenna hanging down, or you got the antenna like right on top of the arm, it could actually keep you from being able to use turtle mode or something like that because it's sticking up too high and the props are hitting it. So I don't want to be too high with it, but at the same time I want to make sure it's out of the way and all that. So I hold it with one hand and use your zip tie on the other hand. also I'm being careful here, guys, to make sure that I don't that it's not touching the motor, because obviously that could cause extra unwanted drag on the motor. Alright, that looks like a pretty good spot right there. So I'm going to grab me another zip tie. Put this one on the other side. And when you're doing this, guys, you want to try to keep the zip ties on the fatter part of the VTX antenna, just because that's where some actual strength is on it. If you get down on the end or something like that, there's a chance it could bend or something. So definitely don't want that to happen. So be careful when you're tightening these down. Again, you don't want it to bend, or you don't really want to over tighten it, but you do want it to be secure. Alright, so I've got that pretty tight there, guys. So yeah, that's on there and definitely not going anywhere. We can see the antenna just kind of wraps around right here. And that should be out of the way. Shouldn't be sticking up too high to interfere with our props. So we'll go ahead and cut these off. Yeah, guys, so something like that right there should be good. Alright, guys, so now we're going to do our battery strap mod. So this is, again, the stock one that comes with it. We're going to be replacing that with a race day quad strap. It has the metal hook on it. They're about the same length, but this one, the race day quad one, is about twice as wide, and it has the rubberized coating on there too. So definitely a better strap. Again, I use this same kind of strap on my other Baby Hawks, and I have yet to break one of them. So definitely a much better strap. So we're just going to feed this up under our Form 1 ESC. Alright, there we go. So we got that through, guys. So now we've got our hook over here. So all that looks good. Oh, there's a little issue right there. So I can see we did our antenna mod, but now the antenna is sticking out under the battery strap. So that's not a good thing. So what we can do real quick, guys, take our camera screws back off real quick. So I'm pulling the canopy back off real quick for a second, guys. And we're going to reposition this so it's not getting caught over there. There's plenty of room up under the camera too, so that might be another good alternative location. Alright, so there we go, guys. Something like that should be fine. Get the camera back in place. Alright, so that should work out. So now we're going to put this back on. Alright, guys, so now we can get our battery strap on there good. Should be plenty of room for 3S battery. Alright guys, so now with our new battery strap on, we can go ahead and get the XT30 mounted. A couple of zip ties for that. Alright guys, so the XT30 is mounted on there now. We're going to clip off our zip ties. And next up, we're going to be moving on to the binding process. So I'm going to walk through this with you guys. I'm going to be binding it to my Tyrannus x-lite. So here's the x-lite. If you guys have not tried this transmitter yet, I highly recommend it. I've really been enjoying it. Really love the size and just, really easy to use. I mean, same programming as the QX7 and everything, but the size of it's just so much more comfortable for me. Alright, so here we go guys, we're creating a new model. It's going to be a multi. Just going to page through all that stuff, long press enter to save. Alright guys, so the first thing we'll do is give it a name. So I'm going to call it Pro Hawk, because I've already got a couple other baby hawks on here. Now go down to the receiver section guys, it needs to be on D8 for the stock FR Sky receiver that comes with the Baby Hawk R Pro. And we're going to go ahead and hit the bind button. Now guys, on the Baby Hawk, you are going to have to power it with a battery to get the receiver to come on. The receiver does not come on with just USB. So we're just going to hold down the button on the receiver and we'll plug in our battery. Again guys, make sure you've got a good press on the button. Sometimes this can be a little bit difficult to hold the button and plug it in at the same time. You can see like the first time there I wasn't sure if the button was pushed. So I'm just going to do it again. And once you get the battery plugged in, you should see the green light on top of the receiver. Then you should see it start flashing the other little red light, and that tells you that it is bound. So it looks like we did get a successful bind there. Alright guys, now what I'm doing is actually unlocking the VTX. So by default it comes in a locked mode, so it can only be set on 25 milliwatts in certain channels. So if you do have a ham license, you can unlock it. To do that, you simply hold down the VTX button while powering the quad, and that will put it into a unlocked mode, so you can use 200 milliwatts and any of the channels. But again, guys, you do need a ham license to be able to do that, and you can also find those directions in the book that actually comes with the Baby Hawk. It tells you how to unlock it as well. So here, guys, I'm just going through setting my channel to R2. So this VTX is just like the older Baby Hawk VTXs. You hold down for 2 seconds to get into the menu, choose which option you want, whether it's band, channel, or power. Hold down for 2 seconds again to get into that. Then you can select the setting you want. Hold down for 2 seconds again to get back out of it. And then again, you hold for 5 seconds to get all the way back out. So you can see here, guys, I've got it set to R2 now, and the little dot indicates that we're on high power, so we're on 200 milliwatts. So now I'm just going to grab my FPV screen, and I'm just checking right now, guys, to make sure I have video, make sure all that's working before we move on to the next step. So real quick, guys, I'm going to set my FPV screen to channel R2. And again, at this point, we're just trying to make sure we have video. So that looks good. We can see the camera, we can see the OSD. So that's what we would expect. And now we know that the VTX and the camera and everything is working correctly. Alright guys, so we're unplugging the battery now. Now the next step we're going to do, guys, is in our transmitter. I want to go ahead and add my mode switches. So to do this, I'm going to go over to the mixer page, and I'm basically going to add the switches for ARM, the modes, the beeper, and turtle mode.
So that's pretty easy to do, guys. If you've never done this, you just choose the, or give it a name. I usually just make mine A, M, B, and F. A for arm, B for beep, M for modes, and F for flip. But again, you guys can name it whatever you want. But once you get there, you just go to the source. You're going to flip the switch you want, and it will automatically detect that switch and make that the source. So again, guys, we're just doing this to get all of our switches set up so we can have all those functions on a switch. All right, guys, so we've got that done now. So all that's good to go. So the next thing I want to show you guys is actually a problem with the VTX. And I discovered this after doing my test there to make sure I had video. Uh, I was actually ended up plugging the quad back in, and I noticed that the channel went back to F1 instead of R2 that I had previously set it to. So here, guys, I'm just going to demonstrate that problem real quick. So I'm basically setting the channel to R2, then I'm going to unplug the quad, plug the quad back in, and it's going to automatically change itself to F1. So obviously this is a big problem, guys, if it resets itself every time. Doing some more investigation and everything on this, I actually found it to be a problem with Betaflight 3.3 or versions of Betaflight that are 3.3 something. A couple options to fix it. You can roll back to 3.2 or 3.2 version. Another thing you can do is just turn off the TBS Smart Audio that Emacs has automatically turned on, and that'll work as well. And I'm going to demonstrate that for you guys in just a minute. Once we get into the Betaflight setup portion, I'll show you guys exactly where that is and exactly how to do that. But again, here I just wanted to demonstrate the problem, so in case you guys run into this or have this same issue, you will have a way to fix it. Alright guys, here we go with the Betaflight setup. So I've got my USB cable plugged into the Baby Hawk. I'm going to plug in the other end into our computer. Alright, so we hear the beep, and we can see that COM3 is shown up in the upper right corner, which is what we would expect. So we'll click connect. Alright guys, so the first page we land on is the setup page. There's not really anything we need to change here. The main thing I like to do on this page is just pick up your quad and move it a little bit. You should see movement in Betaflight as well. That's just telling us that the gyro is working. So everything looks good there. You can do calibrate accelerometer on this page, guys, if you're going to be flying in one of the stable modes like level mode or horizon mode. In my case, I'm mainly going to be flying an acro, so I'm not going to worry about calibrating the accelerometer, but you can just click right here to do that. Of course, if you do that, make sure the Baby Hawk is on a flat surface and is mainly flat. Alright, so next up we're going to jump to the ports page. So by default, you can see Emacs has serial RX set up on UART2, and they have TBS Smart Audio enabled over on UART5. Now the problem we just saw in the video, guys, where we couldn't save the VTX channel, we set it to channel R2, we unplugged the quad, plugged it back in, and then it reset itself to F1. I believe this problem is related to Betaflight 3.3 versions. So there's a couple of options to fix that. We could roll back to an older version of Betaflight, such as 3.2.5, and I have done this on some other quads. But the problem with that, guys, is I really want to fly this Baby Hawk with the configuration that Emacs put out. You know, they did some special PIDs for this one and some different things like that. So I really don't want to, you know, flash to a different version and reset everything because I'd like to fly it the way Emacs had it set up initially. So to fix the problem with the VTX, guys, we are simply going to come over to TBS Smart Audio. We're going to set that to disabled. Then we're going to do save and reboot. Now essentially what that's going to do, guys, is now we'll be able to change the video channel from the VTX button, and it will actually save and it won't keep reverting back to F1. Alright, so we're going to connect again, and we're just going to go back to the ports page, double check and make sure that it's still disabled, which it is, so that looks good. So now we're going to jump over to the configuration page. Okay guys, so here you don't really need to do anything. With the D-Shot 600, that's fine. Motor auto throttle is fine. I am going to be running reverse props on this one, so I'm going to go ahead and turn on motor direction is reversed. I'm going to scroll down a bit. 8K on the gyro update and 4K on the PID loop frequency is fine. Notice they do have barometer turned on. There's really no reason for that to be turned on. This quad does not have a barometer. If we look in the upper right area of Betaflight, you'll see there's actually a light up there for a barometer, and it's not lit up, which that tells us this flight controller does not have a barometer. So we're going to shut that off. Notice we've got the maximum arm angle set to 25. We're actually going to change that to 180, and that just makes it possible for us to arm the quad really at any angle. So even if it was upside down, we could still arm the quad. Sometimes you might need to do that if you get stuck in a tree or something like that. Sometimes you can arm and get yourself out of something like that. So go ahead and set that arm angle to 180. Here we've got our craft name, so you can see by default they have it set to Baby Hawk R Pro. So I'm just going to update that to my call sign, which is NDOG. Alright, camera we don't need to mess with. They already have it set on serial base receiver and S-Bus, so that's good. Coming down to other features, see we've got dynamic filter on, anti-gravity, OSD, air mode, LED strip, and soft serial. So all of these look good to me, except soft serial. When we were on the ports tab, we saw that they didn't have any soft serial enabled there, so there's really no reason for soft serial to be turned on, so we're going to switch that off. And under beeper configuration, I like to turn off almost everything except a few options. So I'm going to go through and do that now, guys, and then I'll kind of explain to you why I'm turning these off. So the RX set one that I'm leaving on, that allows you to set up your beeper through a switch. So basically I can flip a switch and the quad will beep. The other ones up here are also related to that same functionality. Basically allowing the quad to beep, like when if it loses signal or something like that, the quad will beep. So really all these other ones are related to arming, disarming, the battery getting low, and things like that. Really, I don't like having those on. I don't want my quad beeping at me when the battery's low. We have the OSD that's going to be showing us the battery voltage, so there's no reason to have the quad beep at me all the time. So these are really the only 4 options that I like to leave turned on for the beeper configuration. Alright, so that looks good on this page, guys. We're going to go ahead and save and reboot. Okay, and we're going to connect again. Okay, so notice we're kind of getting a delay here now. It didn't connect that time, and that happens from time to time with Betaflight, guys. Sometimes when you save and try to reconnect, it doesn't automatically reconnect. Usually if you just hit connect again, it'll connect the second time, just like it did there. Okay, so the next page we're going to look at is power and battery. Here you mainly just want to make sure that the voltage meter and current meter source are set to onboard ADC. It looks like they pretty much have the settings already in here for the battery, so we're not going to change any of that. Go to the PID tuning page. Again, guys, Emax supposedly did some custom PIDs that they specifically set up for this quad, so we're not going to change any of the PIDs around. I want to fly it with the way they set it up and see how it flies. They've got the RC rate set to 1.10, which should be fine. So really the only thing I'm going to do on this page, guys, is add a little bit of RC Expo to 0.4. We're going to do that on roll, pitch, and yaw. Main reason for that, guys, I just like having a little bit of Expo. Really what that does, it makes a little bit of a delay, when you're going on to roll and pitch and yaw. There's going to be a little bit of a delay almost before you, do a fast flip. And I mainly like that. Sometimes if I don't have the Expo turned on, I tend to overcorrect, or I'll, turn too sharp or flip too fast or something like that, and I can lose control. So I just run, 0.4 Expo on all of my quads. So that looks good for that page, so we're going to save that. We'll take a look at the filter settings. So they've got it set to PT1. They have the gyro notch filter 1 turned off, gyro notch filter 2 turned off, and the D-term notch filter is still on. On a lot of my other quads, I would turn off the D-notch filter as well. But again, because we want to fly this one with the way they, set it up, we're just going to leave it the way it is for now. So we're going to jump on to the receiver page. Okay, so, alright, so the first thing we're going to change here, guys, is this low stick threshold. I'm really surprised that Emacs did not address this with this new version. So a ton of people had issues with this with the Baby Hawk R, the 2.5 or the 2-inch version and the 3-inch version. Basically, they would go through their setup, they would get out in the field, go to arm it, and the quad would not arm. And the reason for that is because the low stick threshold is set at 1,000. So the way most people set up their quads, they're going to have their minimum throttle would be at 1,000. So if your minimum throttle is at 1,000 and your low stick threshold is at 1,000, the quad will not arm. So the low stick threshold has to be higher than 1,000. So the way to fix this, guys, just set that to 1010, and then you won't have any trouble arming. But again, so many people have had issues with this. There's been a ton of posts about it online. People had to answer that question or tell them what to fix. So we're really kind of surprised Emacs did not, fix that in the firmware that they're putting on the board, so that was set automatically. So kind of disappointing there. I would say that's a pretty big oversight on their part, because that just means more people are going to have issues arming this new version. And it's supposed to be, the Baby Hawk R Pro, the better version, so I'm surprised they didn't fix that. Okay, guys, so they have RSSI set on auxiliary 4. I guess we'll leave that the way it is for now. Not sure how the whole RSSI setup is done on this one, or if they have that little built-in receiver in there set up for RSSI. Again, they have it set to aux4, so for now we'll leave it the way it is. They already have a little bit of RC deadband turned on, so that's good. So we're going to leave that the way it is. Okay, so everything else on this page looks good, guys. We're going to go ahead and save. Alright, now real quick, another thing I'm going to do, guys, on this same page, I am going to plug in my quad, just make sure we've got signals and everything. When we were going through the controller setup or the transmitter setup, guys, you'll remember I went through and I set up the switches for arming, modes, beeping, and turtle mode. So I'm going to plug in here, guys, and just make sure that all my switches are working as intended. So before we do that, guys, I want to check the modes tab. I just want to make sure there's no modes turned on. Okay, and that looks good. So obviously, if I'm going to be flipping switches, I don't want the quad arming or anything like that. So by verifying there's no modes turned on, we don't have to worry about anything turning on. Alright, guys, so we're going to go ahead and flip our auxiliary 1 switch. Alright, so we see it move. We're going to flip auxiliary 2. We can see it move. We're going to flip auxiliary 3. We can see it move. And we're going to flip auxiliary 4, and we can see it move. Okay, guys, now I'm seeing some signal jumping around on auxiliary 5. So that makes me think that RSSI is coming out of auxiliary 5. So I'm not sure why they would have had the RSSI channel on auxiliary 4. So I think what we're going to do, guys, is go ahead and switch that to auxiliary 5. And we'll save that. And hopefully that will be correct for the channel they had set up for RSSI on this receiver. So we verified all of our switches are working, guys. We'll go ahead and move our sticks around as well, just so we can make sure everything's working and moving. And it is, guys. We can see everything moving around, so that's good. And I notice, guys, I've got my center points on roll, pitch, and yaw close to 1500. I've got my throttle at 1000. So I've already kind of went through, guys, in my controller and configured my outputs to set the minimum and maximum for each one of the roll, pitch, yaw, and throttle, and also set the center value. So that's something I recommend doing when you set up a quad, guys. Again, that just makes everything fly a little bit truer. Again, you want to set those endpoints and everything correctly. If you don't know how to do that, guys, let me know down in the comments on this video, or send me a message or something about it. I'll be happy to do a video that kind of walks through explaining that. But really the gist of it, you just go to the outputs page on the transmitter, and the first 4 channels are going to be your roll, pitch, yaw, and throttle. So you're just going to go into the settings on each one of those and adjust them accordingly while you're looking at the same receiver page in Betaflight. And again, you can adjust everything to get it set up, correctly. But again, if you guys have never done that or don't know how to do that, let me know and we can certainly do a video on that. Alright, so guys, I'm going to verify all my switches are down, which they are. So now we're going to jump over to the modes tab and we'll get our modes configured. Alright, so our arm is always going to be on auxiliary 1, and we're going to make that the high range on auxiliary 1. So on the x-lite, my auxiliary 1 switch is a 2-position switch, so arm is going to be at the top. Alright, so we are going to do angle mode. We're going to do that one on auxiliary 2, and it's going to be all the way down. We're going to do horizon mode as well, also going to be auxiliary 2, and that's going to be in the middle. And acro will be the high point of the switch. Okay, we're going to add beeper. That's going to be auxiliary 3. Auxiliary 3. And that's going to be the middle range, because that's a 3-position switch. And lastly, we're going to add flip over after crash for turtle mode. We're going to put that one on auxiliary 4. That's going to be the high range on auxiliary 4. So just to verify everything, guys, we've got turtle mode on auxiliary 4 on the high end, beeper on auxiliary 3 in the middle. We've got arm on auxiliary 1 on the high end, and we've got our modes set on auxiliary 2. So we've got angle on the bottom, horizon in the middle, and acro will be the top. So all that looks good. We're going to save that, guys. Alright, so next up, guys, we need to check our motor direction, so we're going to jump over to the motors tab. Okay, so the way you're going to do this, guys, you're going to flip this on here so you can actually spin your props, and you're basically going to run up these little sliders. Really the easiest way to do it, guys, is just left click it and hit your arrow key on your computer to go up to like 1 or 2, and you should see it start spinning. And basically you can do that to check the motor direction. I've already done it on this one, guys, so I'm not going to do it right now, but mine are actually spinning normally, so they're spinning the way it would be for normal props. Again, on mine, guys, I actually want to run reverse props, so we're going to have to reverse them and BL heli, and we'll go through that in a moment. Alright, so we're going to check out the OSD page, guys. So here's how they have it set up by default. So really, my goggles are NTSC, so we're going to switch that to NTSC, and we're going to get stuff moved around where we want it. So I like to put my call sign in the upper left corner. I like to put the battery voltage in the lower right corner. Right about there. I like to have my flight time in the upper right corner. And I like to have my RSSI value right under that. So that's how I like my setup, guys. Again, you can do that however you want. Real quick, we're going to scroll down, and post-flight statistics, we may need to turn some of that on or off. Max speed, we don't need that, obviously, because this thing doesn't have GPS or anything on it. Minimum battery is fine, minimum RSSI is fine. I don't think this thing has any current monitoring, so we're going to flip that off. Use milliamps is fine. No barometer, so we don't care about altitude. Don't care about black box either. We are going to turn on in battery. We do care about timer 2, which is your flight time. Max distance, again, no GPS. Black box log number, also we don't care about black box, so turn that off. Alright, so those settings there look good, guys. So we're going to save that. Now we're going to go to font manager. Guys, I like to do the clarity font for my OSD, so we're just going to choose clarity here, and we're going to go ahead and hit upload font. Basically, this is going to update the font on your OSD, guys. If you've never done this, I highly recommend doing it. You know, you can go through each one of the different options and kind of pick one you like. So yeah, guys, I'm going to go with the clarity one. That's the one I like, and it's, you know, makes it pretty easy to read. Alright, so we're going to reconnect now, guys, and what do we have left? We've got to set up our LED strip. So you can see they already have it set up by default. They have it turned on to like a purplish color. Alright, so to do that, you're just going to left click and select these two. We can see they already had it set to color, and looks like they had color 13 selected. We're going to make ours red, and we're going to turn on Larson scanner. And then we're going to save that, guys. Now basically, guys, that's going to change the color of your LEDs, and by having Larson scanner turned on, it will kind of flash back and forth between each light. Almost kind of like a Knight Rider effect or something. So I do that on a lot of my quads, guys. I think it looks pretty cool. So that's how we've got it set up right now. Okay, so that should be pretty much everything for the Betaflight setup, guys. So we should be good there. So we're going to go ahead and disconnect in Betaflight. Alright guys, so here we go with the BL Heli setup. Before you start this, guys, I do recommend if you had your quad plugged in, go ahead and unplug it, disconnect the USB from the computer. And again, that just makes sure everything's kind of reset and fresh before we start this setup. So we're going to go ahead and plug in our USB cable, guys. Okay, so we hear the beep, we see COM3 show up, so that's good. We're going to go ahead and connect. So now before you hit read setup, guys, you need to plug in your battery again. Okay, so you should hear a couple of beeps when you do that. We'll go ahead and hit read setup. Okay, so we can see they've got us on version 16.6 out of the box, guys. All the motor directions are normal. So the first thing we're going to do, guys, I like doing the Star Wars tone on my startup, and I also like doing the turtle mode. So to do that, we need to switch the version of our ESC. So we're going to do flash all. We're going to go to version 16.65. So you just need to choose one of these that say BL Heli multi-shot. I'm going to go ahead and flash. Alright guys, so there we go. So we see up in the upper right, it says ESC4 flashing finished. So now all of our ESCs have been flashed to the version with tones. So now, like I said, guys, in Betaflight we do want to run reverse props, and we've already verified that our motor direction was spinning normal on the Betaflight motors tab. So we're going to switch all these to reverse. That way we can run reverse props. Okay. And if you guys don't already know, the reason we run reverse props is so, you know, if you're flying into a tree or something like that, when the props are spinning reverse, it's going to push you away from the tree opposed to pulling you into it. So that's really the main reason for it, guys. Also, you know, if you're flying through low grass or something, or maybe your props are hitting grass, reverse props are going to spin the or spit the grass away from your camera opposed to into your camera. So really, just reverse props to me work a little bit better. And again, you know, if you're hitting things, it's going to push you away from those things. It's going to help keep your camera lens cleaner. So really, I don't know of any reason not to run reverse props, guys. So I run reverse props on all of my quads. Alright, so we've got them all set to reverse, so that's good. Now to set our tone, we need to set our beep strength to the correct number. Now the Star Wars tone, guys, is actually 91. I believe there's different tones through 90 through, I think, 95 or 96. So you guys can go through those if you want, check out the different tones. Again, I personally like the Star Wars tone, so I'm going to set the beep strength to 91. That looks good, so we're going to right setup. And now that's going to be saving the reverse direction and the beep strength. So all that looks good, guys. We can see it finished. So now we'll disconnect. And hopefully you guys can hear that. But the quad is rebooting now, and we can hear the Star Wars tone coming out. So that's what we want. So that should be good. So that should be everything, guys, for the BL Heli setup. So we've gone through Betaflight, we've gone through BL Heli. Again, if you guys want to verify your motor direction, you can always jump back into Betaflight, go to the motors tab, and again, just, you know, like I said, run up each one of the little sliders slowly, and again, you should be able to fill the motors and make sure they're spinning the appropriate direction. Obviously, guys, make sure your props are taken off before you do any of this stuff. Obviously, you don't want to be arming in your house or cutting your face off or anything like that. So that is it for the BL Heli setup, guys. Alright guys, so here I'm going to show you our final setup. So this is actually the pod with a fin mounted on it. Guys, this is a 3D printed like turtle mode fin or a shark fin. You can find this on Thingiverse. So I just got one of these printed out. It has a couple of zip tie holes already in the fin when you print it. So I basically just ran a couple of zip ties through there and through a couple of the holes in the top of the canopy. Fasten those down, and that gives you the little shark fin on the top. That comes in handy, guys, if you're trying to turtle mode or something like that. It can be difficult to get these little baby hawks to do turtle mode. So by having that fin, that kind of helps it stick up out of the grass or stick up at an angle a little bit so you can do stuff like turtle mode. But again, guys, I have it on all my baby hawks. It looks cool and it works well. So just doing the final setup here, guys. We're putting back in our canopy screws, getting all those tightened up. We're going to go ahead and throw some props on it and get those tightened up. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Again, the flight footage for everything was actually towards the beginning of the video. I didn't want to make you guys wait just in case you only wanted to see the flight footage. Maybe you've already set yours up or whatever. So flight footage is towards the beginning of the video, guys, after the intro. But I hope the setup process has been helpful for everyone. Again, I do like this thing. It flies great, really enjoying it. So I highly recommend getting it, but there is still some setup you have to do, of course. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy, and we'll see you on the